Okay, welcome back. We are still in it. This is round 2 of the tournament. So, episode 2 in this little series here. And again, it's a race to 3. These are short races. Front side of this tournament is 8 ball, back side is 9 ball. And you rack for yourself in 8 ball, and then your opponent racks for you in 9 ball. So, it changes things up a little bit. But because your opponent is racking for you, the 9 ball does count on the break. So let's see if we can hang on. Had a match against a good player and like super respectful. Really enjoyed chatting with him about it during and after the match. So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. And interestingly enough, this is, I believe, my first commentary video on a 9 ball match on the channel. So I had to try to get down here short side on the 2 ball. There wasn't an easy way to get onto this side of the table from the 1. So I decided to play down below the 2 and see if I had a good safety option. The 9 doesn't really line up on anything. So there I'm looking at just playing the 2 up table past the 9, create some distance. And as with a lot of my safety decisions, I try to just focus on controlling one or the other, not both. I did skim off the edge of the 9 ball, but I knew we were pretty safe just to keep distance here and unlikely to leave an open shot. So my opponent gets his first look at the table here, and he's got to make a tough decision. There's no obvious offensive shot. It's pretty likely that he's going to go with defense here. He just fires in a table long combination on the 2-4. Amazing shot. And it worked out. The two held up for a back cut in the corner. Yeah, he just fired that one in. Great shot. Sometimes you just got to go for it. Good clean back cut on the 2. And sends the 3 down table. Kind of queuing around the 5, but he's got plenty of room here. And shape's not too complicated on the 5. Might have overplayed that slightly, but it held up for him. Clean shot on the 5, draw back, pinch it back just a little bit for the 6. You can either play to the left-hand side of the 6 to come over for the 8, or keep it on the right-hand side. You do want an angle. Again, might have gotten a bit too straight on the 6 here, but we can just draw back. That works perfectly fine. But leaves a bit of a tester here on the 8 ball. We're long and reasonably straight in. There's not a lot of angle to work with to get back for the 9. So he's got to come with another shot here. Yeah, unfortunately, we shoot that one into the rail. Misses that one. He has a really solid run, though. And luckily, the 8 ball, if it had rolled up just slightly farther onto the rail in here, ahead of the side pocket, that would have been a really difficult position. So I'm left with a makeable cut. And you send the 8 ball down the rail into the corner. The cue ball naturally wants to come into this rail, back over and across. And you can tighten this up with a little bit of inside, a little bit of right hand spin. So high right to drift down table. And this is player choice. You can come over one rail, or you can certainly come back an additional rail. Might feel better early in a match to let out the stroke a little bit and go 2 rails kind of back and forth. But after he makes a really good run out on those first few balls, he leaves me a shot on the 8 to get on the 9, and I'm able to finish out that rack. That puts me up 1 game. And alternate break in 9 ball, as well as on the front side, it's alternate break in 8 ball. So breaking from the rail, and he's got that break technique where you'll see some players sort of throw the cue towards the rack. And does end up scratching. So I briefly consider the 1-9, whereas in 9 ball in an APA format, a regular league 9 ball format, you're going for points, every ball counts as a point, 9 ball counts as 2 points, that sort of thing, you would always want to consider the run out, right? Go for more balls. In this case, the combo is playable, the 1-9 to the bottom right hand corner pocket. It's very playable. And yeah, there's just a bit of back and forth here. I mean, you don't want to leave the pocket laying up, leave the 9 ball in the pocket if you miss it. But I decided to play into the 1 ball and go low right to shape the 2. Underhit that a little bit. I needed a bit more action out of the cue ball to spin down. So you can come a little deeper off the 1 ball in between the 8 and the 3, or yeah, come over to the rail like I did. One of these, and back over, but underhit that a little bit. So I'm checking to see if I even have an edge on the 2. And if I do, it's really thin. So you're likely going to have to come in behind the 8, go 1 rail into the 2. Sort of a kick into the 2 ball and stick it behind the 8. Kick and stick, that defense is called. Yeah, I think we just mishit that one. Didn't sell out though. There's not much available on this 2 ball. You could bank the 2, back down table. The 6 makes this a larger pocket. The cut is available to the corner here, but you're sending the cue ball wild. It's pretty thin. Doesn't look like he's taking the cut. That might have been an attempt at the bank. So he sends the 2 ball back down table. If it wasn't an attempt at the bank, it might have been a defense. Either way, it worked out pretty well for him. I think I remember this position, and I'm pretty sure I ended up with very thin edge on the 2 between the 5 and the 4. And if you trust your stroke, if you know that leveling out, you have a nice straight stroke, you can trust this to cut it in. The problem is you'll have to come with a bit of outside to try to shape the 3. And I think I overdid it on the outside English to worry about shaping the 3. But that was a makeable cut, I believe. I had enough of the 2 to make it. And again, didn't really sell out, didn't really leave too much. The 2 doesn't play off the 8. The 8 doesn't really go anywhere. My consideration would probably be to come off the left side of the 2 and leave him under the 6. And that's what he played. And it looks pretty good. I think the 1 rail is still available here behind the 6. And now what I'm looking at is, where do I want to hit the 2? Sending it up table, or am I thinking about moving the cue ball and putting the cue ball down? So sometimes early game in 9 ball like this, it's a back and forth with defense, and you're trying to just get a better position than your opponent. Yeah, looks like I lined up on the 2-7, which looking at the video I didn't even consider, but it must have looked good to me at the table. Unfortunately, hooked myself behind the 5, and now I have 1 rail kick at the 2. And shouldn't be too tricky. This is a makeable kick. I have enough room by the 5 ball. I'm not frozen on that. But the 2 balls are about the same distance off the rail. So you can sort of just judge based on the middle point on the long rail and go with, usually you want to go with a tip of running English, the right hand. Super close. I was probably playing to make that ball because I came into the cutting side of it, not full on into the 2 ball. Probably should have just played for the kick to center ball. Yeah, keep in mind I'm still working on getting comfortable here. I'm coming off a loss in the first round, so it's only round 2 of this tournament. So that's a tough one. He had ball in hand on the 2 and probably just got too hung up on the shape for the 3. He does make a good hit. 2 ball doesn't drop and doesn't really leave too much for the 2 ball. Some players might try to just fire this 2 ball at the 9, which I think has a chance of making the 9 and then not a great chance of selling out. You could even sort of a two-way. Yeah, I think that might be what I'm lining up here, is a bit of a two-way where the cue ball's going to stay down table, if not hooked behind something. Nope, I just played the safe. The intention there was to get behind the 8, and I had a bit of a double kiss on the 2, which sent me too far over. But again, it worked out okay. Left a bit of an edge on the 2 ball, if anything. Hard to tell from this angle if it goes up in the corner. He calls the 9, so that's the thing I forgot to mention about 9 ball here at this tournament. You do have to call the 9 ball. No slop on the 9 ball counts. The only time you don't have to call it is on the break. You snap it in. Yeah, and makes a bad hit there. The 4 was in the way, or was trying to curve around it maybe slightly. I saw he was elevating. And here again, same rack, and I'm faced with another potential combination on the 9. Take a look at it, and with ball in hand, you can finagle this to give yourself pretty much a perfectly straight in shot on that first ball to send it at that proper cut angle on the second ball. And if you take your time on these, yeah, verbally calling and gesturing at the pocket, if you take your time on these and hit it at the good speed, you really improve your chances of making it. And I hit that pretty bad. I sent the 2 really full into the 9 ball. So I either set it up wrong or I changed my angle. But yeah, we missed that by a lot. He's got an open table again. And we know he can put a few balls together. We saw him in that last game. So he's got a good cut angle on the 3. You can thin this and come back 2 rails for the 5, kind of like one of these. Or you can try to come in 1 rail and just hold it for the 5 here. Looks like he was trying for 2 rails, came up a little short. The back cut is still available here, but it's hard to judge those, and it's going to send the cue ball off the 5, kind of one of these down table. Once you get deeper into these, yeah, I think he just tried for the back cut. Ends up banking it back up table. Hard to tell if the cut's available here from where he is. Nope, goes for a bank. Makes that ball. It's nicely played. Unfortunately, the natural angle brings you back up table, and he is hooked. He's behind the 9. The jump might be on here. 9's pretty far away from the cue ball, but it's still jumpable, I believe. Get another look at it. It's long. That's a long jump. You're gonna have a lot of bounce on the cue ball by the time it gets over the 9. So he's gonna kick at the 8 ball. It's coming a little high. Nope, he went straight into it. Nice hit. And the 8 doesn't have quite enough to get there. Leaves it hanging in the jaws of the pocket. And these can be tricky. I'm sure you've seen this come up before. Some players will decide to go rail first into the 8 to send the cue ball around table. I prefer to thin off the 8 here and send the cue ball straight back up table. Yep, thinning it, let the cue ball keep some energy. And at that point, it's just speed control. Those are really worth practicing, though, to make sure that you get a good feel for it. And I've got a good line on the 9 ball on the side here. Yep, just pop that in. Nice. As always, help out with the YouTube stuff, feed the algorithm, do the like and subscribe things. Appreciate you guys being here. Oh, and I scratch on the brake, jeez. So I'm up 2. I'm on the hill. And giving up ball in hand on the break can be deadly in these formats. But we can see my opponent has not quite found his rhythm yet. He's had a couple unfortunate rolls in those first 2 games. And it looks like the 2 ball is back down there, frozen on the 8. It's a little hard to see in from the video's perspective, but he's got ball in hand, so he could try to push the 2 ball out, stop the cue, sort of freeing up the 2 and then playing a defense. I would probably come at it from the other side, though, to do that. Maybe he's just trying to bank it. Yeah, he tried to bank it down cross corner. It's an aggressive play. He certainly had the angle based on how the 2 ball came off, but I've just misjudged the speed on that one. So I've got to pick a good line on the 3. The cue ball's naturally going to want to drive into this rail and come up and out. So you can control that with a high ball, maybe a touch of inside, depending on your stroke and how you're feeling that day. But this is kind of how we would like to come up for the 3. It's possible to sort of just punch into this rail and come straight back up, but maybe a bit harder to control than using that second rail. Let's see where I go with this one. So I really went for it. Really punched it into the rail there. And it sort of bananaed off the short rail. And had a little help from the 9 to get up table. The thin cut on the 3, the cut is available here. And you could certainly play that cut and try to shape the 4. Or, yeah, play a simple safe. 2 balls on the rail, send the 3 down table, blocked by the 8. There's no shame in playing defense here. You gotta get ball in hand when you can. It's a very powerful position to have, and you're playing to win. There's no sense in trying to run out if your shape's no good or if the cut's too risky. Don't play a low percentage shot. This is a very high percentage safety compared to a low percentage offensive shot that I had. He's looking at the jump, which is complicated when the cue ball's on the rail like that. You have to dig. You really, really have to dig into the cue ball. Looks like he's aiming a bit too high up on the cue ball. He's still got clearance over the 8. Gets the hit on the 3 on the way down. Is he going to hook me too? Nope, not quite. He came off laughing about that one, so we were chatting a little bit. Big table jump. 2 rail kiss on the 3 back up. Gotta love it. If that stuff doesn't excite your curiosity, you might not be playing the right game. I've got a really thin back cut, a long table back cut on the 3. It does go down in the corner. If you make that ball, cue ball's going to want to come around table kind of like this. You could shape the 4 that way. Doing low. Oh, I went for the bank. I went for the reverse bank, bottom left-hand corner. Must have liked the shape better from there. And again, I think it's just attempts to kind of find my own rhythm here. Because I won those first 2 games, but, you know, it was by him kind of giving up some balls. I don't feel like I'm really running tables yet. He's calling 9. So this bank lays up pretty natural when the cue ball's sitting on the, or sorry, when the object ball's sitting on the short rail like that. You come off about a quarter ball and it sends it towards the side pocket. And this is a good 2-way shot. He either makes the 9 or sends the 3 ball up table, burying it. So really like that decision. Played it really well. The thing in this format is you can call the 9, but similar 9-ball rules apply where if you still make a ball, you will continue to shoot. So theoretically, you could just call the 9-ball on every shot. But think about sportsmanship, right? Not too sure what happened there. I think the 4 would have gone in the bottom right-hand corner pocket. And I've got a long table, a one rail kick, down table into the 4, which could go. We can't really get around the 8 this way. And the other thing would be to consider a one rail kick this way. It opens up the scratch, so kind of risky. I like the long table kick here because you can use this bottom left-hand rail to come into the 4 and get yourself a better angle on the 5. My body might end up blocking this shot, but I remember this one. A good speed into that second rail, and I do end up making the 4. Yeah, unfortunate that it was blocked with the video, but it went in really nicely. My speed was just slightly off. I definitely would have wanted to end up down here somewhere, but we're still okay. The carom is not on for the 6. There's too much of the 5 in the way. So at this point, you can think about coming off the right-hand side of the 5 and play another safe. You could come off the right-hand side of the 5 with inside English and try to spin it over towards the 9 ball. And I'm grabbing my extension here because it's at the far end of the table. Still a decent stretch even with the extension. Yeah, so I just played kind of a simple safe there. Didn't want to risk moving the 6 too much. Leave the 5 on the rail. It's not frozen on the rail, but it's still in a tough position. The carom might be on now. If you come off from his perspective, the left side of the 5, you might be able to send the cue into the 6 to make it. He's going off our perspective, left-hand side of the 5, send it around. Probably just wanted to split it, leave me behind the 8, but overplayed that slightly. That'd be my guess. I think he was just trying to split him. Open up the 6. There's a cut on the 5. And now you can come into the 5, into this rail, come down and back. Should be able to shape the 6. You gotta think about not letting it dig into the rail too much. You might want just a touch of outside to straighten it out. Which I did not do. And that's what I said to myself right away. I get a friendly bump from the 9, which sends me in the right direction. But I either hit that pure high ball with no spin, which dives into the rail and does what you saw, or maybe a touch of inside for some reason. The action on that is not what I needed. Thin back cut on the 6 here, potentially, which goes, and then you scratch in the side because it's a natural scratch angle, and I definitely did not look at that. And here again, you're playing your APA 9-ball league night, you're just going to run these out, right? Stop shot, stop shot, stop shot. I think that was his instinct first. And he reconsidered and realized, I just got to go for the cheese here and just win this game, which is the right decision in a tournament format. That one goes. Puts him up 1. So breaks and makes a ball. He's got a line on the 1 ball into the side. Shaping the 2 looks possible here. You should be able to float the cue ball up. Yeah, he could hold it. He looks okay here. He can cut the 2, and the cue ball's going to bounce back over to the other rail. You can see he's starting to find his rhythm a little bit here. That one drifted out. Those are tough. You don't want to take those for granted. In that case, better to focus on just making the ball than trying to hold the cue ball for shape. I'm stretching, shooting over the 3, but we can make the 2 ball go, and the cue ball's going to naturally lay up for the 3 in that same side pocket that he was going for. You could play that out a bit more too if you would like, just with more spin and come around the back side of the 8. But I didn't want to mess with the 8. I just wanted to get on the inside of the 8. The other thing I guess I might have looked at is this angle here that I'm sizing up. Can I get a hit on the 9 because the 4 is buried behind the 9? I want to try to stun down table off the 3 to break out the 9 and the 4. And ideally, you want to come into the left side of the 9 ball to leave yourself an edge on the 4. I'll just make this ball and drift down. Oh, and we caught just a piece of the 5 ball, which threw us off. And it threw us off enough that we did not get the hit. Luckily, we're still low enough that we have an edge on the 4. What I'm looking at, it's hard to tell from the video, but I do believe it was tempting to play it in this corner, in this top left corner. Hold on, let me grab my whiteboard. In this top left corner, it was really close, and I didn't want to risk a bad hit, so I end up reconsidering and thinking about the cross corner, which is fine, but I probably should have, yeah, I don't know, I should have like stood up and reassessed and changed my stance and everything, because I was getting down on it like I was gonna cut it into the corner. And we sold out. We left an open shot on the 4. And he punches over into a pretty risky spot. Doesn't have a great line on the 5. Coming into the backside of it, kicking into it. Pretty good chance to kick this in. So he makes a good hit and leaves me long on the 5. The 5's very makeable. You can play this shot. Cue ball's naturally going to want to travel down here towards the 6. You focus on making this ball, and you're very likely to come away with a shot. You could also hold this if you wanted to. Just come into the 5, sort of stun draw across table. I think player preference at that point, either one's going to shape the 6. As long as you don't overplay that stun and come down too low. I'm queuing low, like I'm coming back around. Yeah, I guess I decided to kind of go with that stun. Played it like more of a drag shot to slow down the cue ball, which, as we can see, is not ideal, because now we're queuing around the 8. Luckily, we can stroke cleanly through it. We're not over the 8. And I dogged that one. Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I give him a little hand wave because I ended up sticking him behind the 9. You could try to kick at this, or you could swerve around. I think a lot of players would naturally try to swerve around the 9 ball here. Bit of a mini masse. Yeah, it looks like that's what he's gearing up for. Didn't take much. It looks like he's not having to really dig into it. Might have needed a bit more than that. And he gives it right back to me. He puts me behind the 8 ball here, long table. This was relatively straight in, I seem to remember. And so I reach for my jump cue. And I'm pretty confident in my jumping ability. So I would line up on this one and feel pretty good about being able to pop in the 6. You don't have to worry about shape here. You've got a full open table. And on a straight in shot, the cue ball is going to stay pretty much in the center of the table for you. And anywhere on that 8 ball is going to be fine. So you get clearance over the 8, just make a good hit on the 6, clean straight in. I just line this up. Just double check, kind of telling my brain and my body that I want to end up in the center of the table. And then just drop into your jump shot technique and trust that. I make good clearance over the 8, but I do just slightly miss that cut on the 6. And now he's got a cut on the 6 into the side. You can come around the 8, let your stroke out, go around 3 rails, and come back under the 8 ball. I'm not sure if he can hold it here to try to stay below the 8. Doesn't look like it. No. I think that might have just been a good roll. He was probably going to try to come around the 8 and came off into it, and luckily pushed it into a position where he's got a shot that takes him over to the 9, which he does. And cut down the rail. Making this one would put him on the hill, which he does. Hill Hill. This I missed the break shot on this one. But we're into this final game. Let's see if we can make it out of round 2, guys. Are we going to get washed out? 2 losses in a row. So this was a try break from me, it would appear. And he's got to try to make a good hit on the 1. 2 balls at the opposite end of the table. He's not able to successfully get around that 6 ball. So it's ball in hand for me with an open table. And this is a tournament, right? When you're playing at home and you've got an open table and you're giving yourself ball in hand after the break, you can run that rack and 9 ball, right? You can line up and run out. But tournament situation, hill in a short race, you're going to be feeling a little different. Your mind might be a little squirrely. You might be second guessing things. Might not be trusting your stroke, opening up as much as you need to, playing defense when you should. There's a lot that can go wrong. I just need to get through this traffic and spin down table for the 2. And here's an example. I underhit that ball by a good margin. I had the right idea. I had the right line and the right spin and everything, but just underplayed it. Not sure why. Got scared of overplaying that somehow, or just let up on my stroke. But 2 balls really on that top rail, and I would love to, yeah, just leave him behind the 8. That makes sense. He's got a 1 rail kick, so he can just come into this low rail and hit the 2. You probably wouldn't want to try to make the 2 ball. Kicking under it and sending it up table is a better position. You're likely to block your opponent behind that wall of balls and send the 2 close to the 3. Hard to say there. I don't know if he was going for the cut or just a hit, but got a good roll. He hooked me behind the 6. And now I got to figure out if I want to go 1 rail, long table, kick into the 2 this way, or try sort of it's hard to tell if I can go 1 rail this way. I might be able to. I think the other thing that you could do is sort of a Z shot of the 4. Like here. Hard to tell. The 4 might also get in the way. But yeah, I've decided that it looks like it's going to be a good hit from this left side. A bit of running English here to get down table. Say based on body language that I scratched. So I think I made a good hit, and the cue ball glanced off the 2 into the pocket. Sent the 2 up table, close to the 3. And he's got a combo here. Player's choice to try to make the 2 behind the 6 or just leave the 2 for shape. I think either is fine based on where the 3 ball is. Yep, that's going to work out. You can see he's starting to find a rhythm here. He's not happy with his speed on that one, but I think he's still okay. Touch of outside, maybe even low outside to come over for the 4. Little firm. Little firm. Down table, pretty straight on the 4. This can be a tough shot. This came up in another video of mine. Put it in a short. Shooting this ball up table, you got to make sure that the rails are aligned. Nice stroke. Yeah, he played that really well. With confidence, too. He was able to roll through it. So he can shape up the 7-8 combo, or he can try to get into the backside of the 7. I think he just took the shot on the 5, was less worried about the shape. Just focus on making the ball. And might be going for the combo here. Hard to tell. He does, goes for the combo and just fires it in. It's awesome. Is the 7 going to cooperate? Bit of an off angle, bit of a back cut. So he's taking some time to look at this cut. Oh. Heartbreaker. So I think he just really focused on overcutting that 7 ball. So giving up ball in hand here. And we can just follow through on the 7, bounce back over the long rail on the right-hand side, shape the 9. Nice easy shape there. And you just bear down to win this game. Or you missed the 9 ball, dude? Oh, look at my body language. It hurts. It hurts watching it now. It still hurts. And we sold out too. We left the cut. He's not perfectly straight in on the 9, but come on, man. You don't miss that 9 ball. And he missed it too! Oh! And he gives it up. It hurts. It hurts, guys. We had a good talk. My opponent and I had a good talk after that match. These are gut-wrenching. I know you've all been in this position before. There is no reason for me to miss that 9-ball shot that I had. In the same way that there was no reason for him to miss that shot. It really just comes down to tournament pressure, feeling intimidated, feeling uncomfortable. The energy levels are weird. It's all the mental stuff that we talk about here on the channel. And looking back on it, it's so easy to say, oh, I should have walked around the table again, or I should have done this, or I should have done this, taken another breath. Sure, that stuff is all true, but in the moment, maybe you're feeling really good and you're just trying to stay in that rhythm. Or maybe you're feeling really bad and you're trying to just get it over with. It can be so many things, but yeah, he and I had a great conversation at the end of that match. It's a heartbreaker. It's hard for me to say that, you know, I deserve to win that game, because, man, I shouldn't be missing shots like that and advancing. The other perspective is that that's the game. That stuff comes up, does happen to all of us, and you know, you take the wins that you can get, and you just have to strive to do better. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for hanging out for these videos. I'm really enjoying doing them. More to come. As you can see, I'm advancing in this tournament, so let's see how deep we get into this one, and I hope to see you all in the next one.